The storm raged outside, lightning slicing the dark sky like an angry warning. Inside the massive marble hallway of the Grant mansion, a man's voice thundered, shaking the walls. "Don't touch my daughters," shouted Alexander Grant, the kind of man whose word could make empires rise or crumble. His 6-foot frame towered over the frail figure standing in front of him, the new housekeeper, Maria. She turned slowly, her face pale, her hands trembling, but her eyes held a fire that even the millionaire's power couldn't dim. What happened in the next few moments would forever change both their lives. Alexander Grant wasn't just any man. He was a ruthless tycoon, the kind people whispered about in corridors and feared meeting in elevators. Widowed for 3 years, he had 2 young daughters, Lily, aged 8, and Emma, aged 6, both delicate as porcelain dolls. After losing their mother to illness, he had built walls around them so high that even love struggled to get through. That's when Maria entered their lives. The first challenge came quickly. Maria found Lily curled up in the library, holding a worn-out storybook, tears streaking her cheeks. When she asked what was wrong, Lily whispered, "Daddy doesn't let us read bedtime stories anymore. He says it makes us weak." Maria's heart clenched. Bedtime stories weren't weakness, they were a lifeline for children. That night, against Alexander's strict household rules, Maria tucked the girls into bed and read them the story of The Brave Little Sparrow. The girls giggled, eyes sparkling for the first time in months. Unfortunately, Alexander walked in. She was hired on short notice, a recommendation from the head of the orphanage where she'd been volunteering for years. Her hands were rough from endless chores, but her smile was gentle, the kind that could soothe a crying child. Alexander didn't care about her warmth or kindness. He wanted someone efficient, obedient, invisible. On her first day, Maria noticed the house wasn't just cold in temperature, it was frozen in spirit. The girls barely spoke. They ate in silence, their eyes lowered, as if speaking too loud might disturb the ghost of their mother lingering in the air. His voice was ice. "I said no stories." Maria stood her ground. "And I said children need stories to dream. If you take away their dreams, Mr. Grant, you take away their childhood." For a moment, his jaw clenched so tightly she thought he'd fire her on the spot. But instead, he walked out without another word. The second challenge was far worse. One rainy afternoon, Alexander returned from a meeting earlier than expected. He found Maria in the garden, holding Emma's hand as they splashed barefoot in puddles. The sight of his daughter's pink dress muddy and wet ignited his fury. He stormed toward them, his voice booming across the lawn. "Don't touch my daughters." The words were knives in Maria's chest. But she didn't flinch. She turned around slowly, meeting his glare with unwavering resolve. "I will touch their hands when they're scared. I will hold them when they cry. I will hug them when they need warmth. Because that's what a mother would do, and someone has to, Mr. Grant." The air hung heavy with her words. The girls froze, waiting to see if she'd be sent away forever. But instead of shouting again, Alexander's expression shifted, just slightly, from rage to something else, something almost like pain. The third challenge came when Emma fell ill with a high fever late one night. Alexander was away on business, unreachable. Maria stayed by the little girl's side, cooling her forehead with damp cloths, humming lullabies until the fever broke at dawn. When Alexander returned, he found Emma asleep in Maria's arms, a blanket wrapped around them both. He didn't say a word. Just stood there, watching, his eyes unreadable. That night, he asked Maria to join him in the study. "I've been wrong," he admitted, his voice quieter than she'd ever heard. "I thought protecting them meant shutting everyone out. But you've shown me it's the opposite." Maria smiled gently. "Love doesn't weaken them, Mr. Grant. It makes them stronger." Months passed. The mansion slowly transformed. Laughter began to echo through the halls. Lily learned to paint, Emma started singing again. Alexander began spending more time with his daughters, not as the strict guardian they feared, but as a father who listened, played, and even read them bedtime stories. One sunny afternoon, Maria was packing her things. Her contract was almost up. She didn't expect to stay, she never belonged in this world of marble and chandeliers. But before she could leave, Alexander and the girls came to her. Lily held out a drawing, all 4 of them, smiling, hand in hand. You can't go, she said softly. Your family now. Maria's throat tightened. She looked at Alexander. For once, there was no barrier in his eyes. Stay, he said simply. Not as a housekeeper. As their second mother, and as my partner. Tears filled her eyes as the girls wrapped their arms around her. The storm that had once hung over the Grant mansion was gone. In its place was something warmer, brighter, a home. Final message: sometimes, the walls we build to protect our hearts end up imprisoning them. But the right person, with enough courage and love, can break those walls, and in doing so, heal not just others, but themselves.